Good morning. Today's a rest day, so I'm mountain biking a little bit, and I want to talk about electric pumps and what I think about them. I think the first impression that we're getting is not really correct, or at least I was getting, because I was thinking about electric pumps as something that you replace, like your pump on the bike, that you carry it with you and then you pump the tires. But then it's kind of same as CO2. It pumps your tires once, twice, 3 times, but then the battery is dead, and then you can't get home because you had tubeless or something that didn't actually, that didn't seal or didn't pump up. So I'm going to show how I use mine, and then I'm going to talk about what I think about them. So this is how I use it most of the time. This is the pump that I use. It's quite big. I think it's maybe half a kilo or so, but I'm comparing it with a floor pump, so it's much smaller than a floor pump. And if I turn it on, it has 2 bars out of 4, so it's half charged over like a month. Bonus clip. It's not, I haven't thought about this feature originally, but actually I think it's pretty cool. So if you just open up the pump and you don't put it to the wheels, you can just turn it and you can blow the bolts. You can blow the bolts after washing the bike. You don't need to do that, like it's not something critical, but you just blow the water from the bolts that you have and they will dry up quicker. And that's it. Like, you don't really need to, it's not, you can blow out liquids from the chain. It's kind of good enough to do it. And you see, like, I just sprayed all over my tire, but it's strong enough to put liquids out of, like, bolts, all the small areas. So when you wash the bike and some of these that can degrade over time, you can just really quickly blow in like 30 seconds and get done with it. So finally some quiet roads. Look, no hands. So what do I think of electric pumps? I think it's brilliant, and I was a real skeptic. I was not really considering them. Similar to CO2. I did ride with CO2 cartridges, with CO2 pumps. I did use them for carrying on racing, and this is kind of the thing, that if you don't puncture on a race day, then you never get to use the CO2. But what I didn't really like about it is that if I'm on a long ride alone in some remote place, I don't really want to be left without air in my tires. And that's where the problem with CO2 comes in, is that it's kind of a one-time hit. And if you messed up the inner tube, or if the sealant didn't seal for the tubeless, or if you just didn't clean out whatever thorn actually punctured the tire, then you're in trouble. Then you don't have something to get home. But with a pump, and this is where I was going. So normally I'm using somewhat bigger pumps. Right now I have one that fits in this bag and takes almost all of the height, and it's a high volume pump for a mountain bike. So I like to have bigger pumps. On a road bike, I would usually carry something that has even like a gauge, pressure gauge, and where you can use the pump to get up to at least 6 bars easily, or whatever, around 70 80 psi that you can do if you want to, so that you can continue a long ride. I do have a smaller pump right now on the road bike, just for the weight saving, but it's still very robust high pressure pump. Anyway, yeah, and I had quite a few cases where I would get a slow puncture. I would start to lose air from the tire, but very, very slowly, and I don't really need to change the inner tube. I would just stop, pump up the tires quickly, and then I would be able to ride for another 5-10 minutes, and that would get me home quite a few times. That if I'm 20 minutes from home, I can maybe pump my tires 2 times and I get home, and then I deal with a puncture. So this was something that's actually happened, and same with tubeless. Like if it almost sealed but not quite, you can just add a little bit more air and keep going. So that's why I didn't really like the idea of electric pumps, because you don't get infinite air. But where it is useful is and where you actually then don't need to get such a small air pump, is that if you use it not on the ride but before the ride. So where I find fitting the electric pumps best is either at home or when you travel. I'm gonna switch to the handlebar view. So yeah, when you're at home and when you want to really quickly pump your tires and you want to have a specific pressure, this is where you either want to have an electric gauge, so you pump up the tires with a normal big pump, and then you use the gauge to just check the pressure, or you just use an electric pump and you say that you know what, I want 72 psi in my rear tire, and on the road I'm doing maybe 75 rear tire, 82 front tire, because front tire is narrower. So yeah, and it gives you consistently the same outcome. I'm a skeptic in terms of tire pressure. Of course, I believe that tire pressure is the key, and it results in the most difference in how the ride feels. But where my skepticism comes from is that if you pump up your tires, let's say exactly to whatever 60 psi, then you don't really know that you will have 60 psi on your ride, because you would go outside, it would be, I don't know, 35 degrees Celsius, very hot, or it would be a very long ride, or you're having tubeless or latex tubes that maybe will actually lose a little bit of air, or if you leave your bike overnight and then you don't get a chance to check the tire pressure. So basically a lot of these things where you pump up your tires, but I think you don't really know what pressure are you running in terms of like 1-2 psi. So of course directionally you need to be correct, but if you're running not 72 but 73 or 70 psi, I think there is no dramatic difference, because normally this is not something that you can control. And that's why I was thinking about having just a regular pump with a dial gauge is okay, because you can see that you pumped up somewhere between 70 and 75, and that's good enough. For the mountain bike, probably not, but yeah, this is where I have very little knowledge. Of course, 23 and 25 psi sounds like very small difference, but it's actually 10%. So, and this is something that you cannot see on a dial gauge. But yeah, so anyway, I think that you would be okay and directionally correct if you use just a regular pump with a dial gauge. But if you have an electric pump and you use an electronic gauge, then actually the benefit that you're getting is simply that you can go consistently with the same pressure, and no matter the conditions, you would at least start with the same pressure. That's kind of what I'm thinking about it. So and when you're going to some races, like I'm doing triathlons, sometimes Grand Fondos, I do have a floor pump that would fit in a backpack, but it barely fits in the backpack also. So it's just a little bit of an extra hustle, and a smaller electric pump that can pump up the tires. It's just, I don't know, a third of the height or something. It's just way smaller. So so I think it's brilliant in terms of having infinite air. If it is going to be in your hotel or home, you just don't really care. There's always enough air, and you can pump up the tires, and you can charge the pump. So these two are okay. And then also, if you're just using it daily instead of having it on the rides, then for at least some trips you could even go with a smaller air pump, simply because you need to get like 5 extra psi for the road bike maybe after a couple of days. So you don't need to pump up completely flat tire to 100% of what you need. You just need to top it up a little bit, and that's it. So I think this is where electric pumps are great, and this is where we're not thinking about them. I'm not sure where I need to go. And this is where I think is worth thinking about them. Basically, not as a pump that will save you on the ride. Carrying them, it's not much small. It's maybe a little bit smaller than the CO2 or the hand pump, but having a hand pump that is a good high pressure hand pump, it would just have infinite air, and it would likely be just better for you to get out of any situation. So I'm not really sure where I'm going. I'm just trying to find some routes where I cannot really do anything technical. So this is kind of my level of mountain biking, if you call it that. I think the pumps are great. I think you need one with a dial, with a gauge, with an electronic gauge, because that's the whole purpose. I think it's okay if it's bigger. I have a I don't know, it's a Xiaomi Mi brand, for something like 35 euros. I got it, so it's not really expensive. And if you need something to just put air in your tires, it's not complex technology. You don't need something that is like super expensive. And with that in mind, you can still have a hand pump with you on your bike. The only problem is that it is actually loud. You can probably hear it on the video that I showed, but I would say if I'm getting on a ride on a weekend and then my kids are asleep, then I would probably try to pump up the tires the night before, just not to bother anyone in the morning, because that would definitely wake up people in other rooms. So it is quite loud, but you know what? An electric motor that pumps air at high pressure, it has to be loud. Well, it doesn't have to be loud, but it will be loud. And there is no real reason to try and silence it. because the whole mechanism is actually quite open. There's a lot of ventilation happening, so a lot of room for sounds to go out. This is the off-road section. The main one. So I really think that I could actually ride this on the gravel bike. This is my issue with off-road cycling. I think that my skills are so bad that whatever I can ride on the mountain bike, I could ride on the gravel bike. And if I can't ride it on the gravel bike, I probably wouldn't be able to mountain bike around it. So that's enough for me for today. Yeah, rode a couple of routes. Now time to just recover and go work. Let me know in the comments what you think of electric pumps, and stay tuned. I will probably film something soon.